The Las Vegas Raiders have been going crazy this entire free agency period, man. Most of their signings were done, when the legal tampering period opened a few days ago. Most of the players were already verbally committed. In the past few days, they've been signing, a couple more players here and there. Essentially, the players that they've got in free agency on both sides of the ball is pretty much it looks to be their foundational pieces, right? So that they can go into the draft and then attack, you know, other positions that may not have been so deep in free agency. Now, I'm gonna go over the players, all of the players so far that they were able to get in free agency. So they of course they signed Eric Stokes to a 3-year deal. They ended up giving Malcolm Kuntz a 1-year deal. They brought back Charles Snowden, Will Putnam, and Jordan Meredith. I can't remember if there's somebody else that they re-signed, right? Players that we already had on the team last season. New players that they got in free agency coming to the Raiders, right? They got kicker Matt Gay, so Daniel Carlson did not come back with the Raiders. Um, Wish you luck. Uh, Edge defender Kwity Paye. They got middle linebacker Quay Walker, weak side linebacker N'Kobe Dean. They traded for Teron Johnson, a slot corner with the Bills, the day before the legal tampering period opened. They got interior offensive lineman Tyler Linderbaum, and they got wide receiver Jalen Neller. Essentially, or at the beginning, now in the past couple of days, they ended up signing fullback Connor Hayward, and they also signed wide receiver Derek Young, previously with Seattle. So he was with Kubiak in Seattle when they won their ring. Now, Connor Hayward, he's a fullback. Nowadays it's like fullback slash tight end, but I'm pretty sure that they're bringing Hayward in to be strictly fullback. Um, he's about 6 foot, 6 foot 230. So he's not really big enough to be a tight end, but perfect for a fullback. I did watch a little bit of tape. Yeah, I mean he's a fullback. It's pretty much does what fullbacks do. Um, I do think that it's some things that he's gonna have to work on. Good pickup though, man. We need a fullback. A fullback in Kubiak system is very important. So that was a good pickup. They also got Derek Young, obviously familiar with Kubiak's system, played wide receiver, but he also plays special teams, right? A huge addition to the special teams unit. And special teams is very important. Special teams is important, man. You don't want to overlook special teams, man, and not add talent to that phase of the game, man. He could play wide receiver. I do see him playing wide receiver in some cases, in some situations. From what I've seen in this short amount of time, he has great size, 6'2", about 225. So he has good size to him. Understands zone, right? He doesn't just take off and run his route. He understands, hey, they're in zone. It's obvious zone, and he sits down in the zone, right? That's smart of a player, right? He also plays special teams, and he isn't just a kick returner, right? I do expect him to be a kick returner slash punt returner, but he could also play gunner, right? On the punt team, out wide, right? So you lined up like how receivers, but you're going to tackle the punt returner. Kickoff team as well. Seen him play that while he was in Seattle, so great addition, man. Um, that right there is pretty much the foundation, man. You got your foundational linebackers, right? You got your edge defenders, um, interior offensive linemen to the offense, right? Great foundational piece to attack, maybe an offensive tackle in the draft, right? A good complementary piece for the wide receiver group. I like it, man. I like it, man. It's one of the best off seasons that we had in a long time, man. Um, I wanted to touch on this Max Crosby deal, right? As you all know by now, the deal with the Ravens, man, it was voided. He is back. There is some question about whether he's gonna stay, whether he's gonna go, what they're gonna do, what the contract's looking like. Now, I don't know nothing. I don't know nobody there. I don't talk to nobody. I'm not an insider. I don't know insiders. But I'm gonna tell you my opinion, right? Where so Max Crosby coming out and being verbal and saying, I want to stay, I'm a Raider, run that shit. That right there tells me that he's going to be here, right? Before the trade happened, and a lot of fans were like, oh, he's not coming out saying anything. He's not, and he didn't. He didn't even say that much, right? So to be in this situation now and for him to come out and say that, it's pretty clear that he's gonna stay, right? Now anything can happen, right? We all know that, but just the way that it seems, the way that it feels, it seems like they're not gonna trade him, right? Especially after he came back and said, you know what? I guess God wants me here. It seems that way, so I think he's gonna stay. Now, with the contract situation, it's not really an issue the way that people's making it seem, right? This is just the basic knowledge of how this worked, right? When he was sent to the Ravens, the deal wasn't done yet, right? There's still a time period in between where of course you have to pass the physical, right? And then the certain date I believe was the day that free agency officially opened. I think that day it would have became final. So when Spytek was negotiating these deals and the free agents gave their verbal commitment, Spytek structured the free agent contracts as if Max was still on the books because he was at that time, right? So he wasn't, it's now that he came back, there's no strain on the cap situation because Spytek was working around the money that was supposed to be given to Max because he was still on the books, right? It wouldn't make sense to make that commitment when the trade isn't official yet, right? So now that he's back, there's no strain on the cap space. From what I've seen online, on SpotTrack, the cap space that's left right now for the Raiders, available to spend is somewhere around 58 million right now, give or take. It could be more, it could be less, but somewhere around there, and that's with Max Crosby's contract on the books right now. That's just involved restructuring, right? With him staying, also I forgot today his guaranteed money for 2027, which is about close to 30 million, it became guaranteed today, right? So the Raiders are on the books for his 2027 season, right? 2026 is already guaranteed. So now 2027, Max's money is guaranteed today, right? So that's another reason why I'm pretty sure he's going to stay on this team, right? And then the cap situation, there's no strain on the cap. So there's no real reason to say, you know what, we have to get you out of here, right? We cannot do this financially. We have to get you out of here. That is not the situation at all, right? They can go into this season perfectly fine, somewhere around, I don't know, it could be 30 mil, right? Anywhere from 30 to 60 mil left in cap space, you're good, right? Draft picks don't even take up that much, right? In all 10 draft picks, the total cap space that you're going to take is anywhere from 10 to 15 million. So, you know what I mean? And then, I expect for them to add some more free agents. You still got UDFAs as well, but those are all like 1 year contracts, right? And then the cap hit really isn't that much when you have the 1 year contracts, unless it's like a 30 million, you know what I mean, edge rusher, you know what I mean, $30 million edge rusher, but that's not the case, right? They're going to bring in depth. They're going to bring in special teams guys. Those are like, less than 1 million per year, right? On a 1 year contract, it's not going to cost that much, right? Um, but that's the situation. The cap space, there's cap space is fine. There's no need to restructure. I think Max is going to stay. It's 99%, you know, that he's going to be a Raider for the foreseeable future, right? Now, with the free agents that I named, the additions of the free agents that the Raiders added, I did do a mock draft. I ain't gonna lie, mock drafts are fun. If you haven't tried it, man, go try it, man. Test out your GM ability, man. But look, this is what I did. This is what I think that the Raiders should do. I don't think that they're gonna do it. This is, if I was the GM for the Raiders, this is what I would do, considering the free agent signings, right? Now, in the first round, of course, quarterback Fernando Mendoza. 6'5", about 225. Prototypical size for a quarterback. Now, what I like in Mendoza is his football IQ, his instincts, his grit, his arm talent, and his leadership. Those five things is everything that you need in a quarterback, right? He is mobile, but I wouldn't really consider him athletic. Like, just keep it G. I wouldn't keep consider him athletic, but he is mobile. He does have good enough feet to work within the pocket. You know, he could scramble and run. He could do all that. He's just not gonna take off and leave you in the dust, right? But it's cool. You don't need to do that. All you need is arm talent and a good brain. You know what I mean? You gotta know how to think. You gotta know how to process. You gotta know what you're seeing. You gotta know how to problem solve. That's football. That's the quarterback position, man. One thing that I like about him that you don't typically see a lot, he's 6'5", right? And a lot of people don't talk about this, man, but it's very important for the quarterback. Being able to see the field is very, very important, man. Now, with shorter quarterbacks, you know, you're going to hear a lot of, you know, throwing lanes this, throwing lanes that. Throwing lanes is only for the quarterback to get the ball to the receiver. That has nothing to do with seeing the field, reading the defense, you know what I mean? Knowing where players at. Like, being 6'5" and being able to see the entire field, very important. Decision making, very important, man. He has it all. Fernando Mendoza, number one. That's who I got. Second round, 36, I ended up taking Lee Hunter. The Raiders didn't address the interior defensive line. They do have interior defensive linemen, but I do think that they need to add to it 100%. Adam Butler, I believe, uh, 2 years left. I do. He is a little bit older, and we do need to get young at the nose tackle position. I do think Adam Butler is going to play nose tackle this year, but you need to add to it. You need to add youth. Lee Hunter, most underrated nose tackle in this draft class, most underrated interior defensive lineman in this draft class. I do have a first round grade on him. He might slip. He might fall to the second round if he's there at 30, 36, 100%. The Raiders need to take Lee Hunter. Now, in the third round, I ended up taking Jennings Dunker, offensive lineman, right? Now, I don't think he's going to fall to the third, right? So I'm kind of sad about it that, you know, you either have to take Lee Hunter or Jennings Dunker, but I'm not going to get into that because when I did the mock draft, Jennings Dunker was there, right? And in the draft simulator, they have him as an offensive guard. And I heard this narrative like during the football season that he'll fit better at guard, you know, this and that. Like, and it's for no reason, right? I mean, nobody can give a honest answer on why he fits better at guard, like why his skill set fits better at guard because it doesn't, right? Like he's a great tackle, man. He moves well, you know, he has good enough feet, very patient, you know, very violent at the point of attack. Um, I guess if you say he could play guard, then he has versatility, right? So that's more to like. Um, Jennings Dunker, man, Iowa produces linemen, man, and he's the next great one, man. Jennings Dunker, I took him in the third round. In the fourth round at 102, I took Tacario Davis, right? Corner out of Washington. I believe he stands at what I seen. It was like 6'4". I'm not. It was about 6'4", about like 190 or something like that, right? So he's kind of tall. Well, he is tall. 6'4" right now. He could play zone. He could play man. I honestly think if I had to choose, he's better at zone, which I do believe Rob Leonard's gonna run. Um, Sicario Davis is sort of the forgotten baller when it comes to outside corners. Fourth round, I mean, you can't go wrong. Like, you know, he's a ball hawk. He has great instincts, right? Understands leverage, all that, you know, everything, man. At the fourth round, you can't go wrong. Tacario Davis, outside corner. At 117, I ended up taking Michael Taft. Now, everybody knows we need a safety, right? A free safety. Michael Taft, one of the best safeties in this draft class. Now, safeties, they tend to fall, right? The best safeties might go first round, and then you might not see another one go off board until the third, right? Michael Taft is one of the forgotten ballers in this draft class, right? And it's understandable, man. When you have a down year, especially for football players going into the draft, everybody forgets about him, you know what I mean? And then at that, he's playing a position that's not really coveted, you know what I mean? Playing the free safety position, it's rare that you get drafted high, but lucky for us, man, if he's there in the fourth round, plays great in space. You know what I mean? High points the ball, which you don't really see a lot these days in the National Football League. Man, high pointing the ball is very important. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're 6'4" if you don't high point the ball. You know what I mean? You're not really using your height to your advantage. But Michael Taft, man, great free safety, great open field tackler. If he's there in the fourth round, great value. I think the Raiders should take him, no doubt about it. Now at pick 134, it's our it's the Raiders' third, fourth round pick. I ended up taking Dion Burks, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Dion Burks is a baller, man. A lot of fans like Zachariah Branch, and Dion Burks is plays very similar to Zachariah Branch. Um, I believe he's like 5'10", maybe 5'9", 5'10", weighs about 180. So he is a smaller receiver. I know fans are gonna compare him to Trey Tucker automatically just because he's a smaller receiver, but I promise you they are not the same. Trey Tucker is a boundary receiver. You know, the speed that he has is sort of, like steady speed, right? He's not somebody that cut one way and then boom, burst and cut out and take off another way. Right? It's more steady, straight line speed, right? Dion Burks, he has more burst to him, right? He's more shifty, he's more quick twitch, right? He's one of those players, but he plays strong, right? He plays bigger than his height. He plays bigger than his weight, man. Oklahoma, he was the best receiver there, hands down. Dion Burks in the fourth round, late fourth round, that'll be a steal, man. That's who I took for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, fifth round at 175, this is a compensatory pick. I ended up taking Romello Height, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Now, I honestly don't think Romello Height's going to be there. I wanted to keep these mock drafts as realistic as possible, but in all honesty, you never really know. You know what I mean? People fall all the time. So Romello Height was there. Edge rusher, man, that's who I ended up taking. I do think that they need depth, right? When you have two outside linebackers and you really only have three outside linebackers, if I'm not mistaken, they only got like three. You need depth, right? Romello Height, I don't expect him to be a day one starter, right? Really, none of my day three picks are day one starters. Their day three picks are really not gonna be day one starters unless you like get lucky. But he has the potential to be somebody in the NFL, right? He was a great pass rusher for Texas Tech. He is great with his hands. More of a speed than athletic type of guy, right? He's gonna beat you with his athleticism, with his speed, with his bend. Great hand usage though. A plethora of pass rushing tools, pass rushing technique, man. So he has a lot of upside as a pass rusher, man. Romello Height, 175, man. That's what I took. At 185, um, the first their first sixth round pick, I ended up taking Demonte Capehart, defensive tackle out of Clemson. This dude's a beast, man. 6'5", about 315, right? 320. Um, he plays physical, right? He plays like a defensive tackle. He's just a little slim, right? And from what I've seen, he lined up at the one tech a lot, right? So he pretty much lines up kind of like a nose tackle. Um, I'm not sure how that's gonna play out in the NFL, but he's a great run defender, man. Pass rushing upside, I do see that, right? Just because of pure physicality. He plays raw, dog. He in the sixth round, Demonte Capehart, a very underrated interior defensive lineman, man. That'll be a great pick. 208, I ended up taking DJ Campbell, interior offensive lineman. Played at Texas, played right guard. DJ Campbell, I really like DJ Campbell, man. Last year he entered the draft, and then I guess when he heard his value, he ended up just going back to Texas. I wanted the Raiders to try to get him in the fourth round. He did have a better season in 2024 than he did in 2025. I don't know why that was. His run blocking just wasn't as effective as it was in 2024. But man, when you do something once, man, you could do it again. Man, I don't know what he's going through in life. I don't know what was on his mind. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know what the coaches were coaching him. You know what I mean? But in the sixth round, I mean, what do you expect from, you know what I mean? Like, it's the sixth round, man. But DJ Campbell is definitely a great offensive guard that has potential to be a future starter, right? He's about 6'4", like 330, right? Um, more of I would say he's better at run blocking. He's a dog at run blocking, right? And they use zone scheming too. They really don't use outside zone, but they do use inside zone, right? Just the zone scheme. He does move well for somebody his size. I think a lot of people are putting too much into this outside zone, and you know what I mean? Like, Seattle's offensive linemen were not athletic, bro. You know what I mean? They weren't. I mean, the offensive guard that they drafted in 2025, he's not somebody that you would consider athletic, right? Like, so you know, as long as you could move well laterally, that's the only thing that matters really. I think he can do that. He gets to the second level well. That was his bread and butter. You know what I mean? Duo blocking, getting to the second level. Um, yeah, man, great run blocker, great upside. DJ Campbell, sixth round. That's what I took. The last pick in the seventh round, 219. I ended up taking Bryce Botcher, linebacker out of Oregon. Um, haven't watched a lot of tape. I ain't gonna lie. Uh, I do watch a lot of Oregon football though. Um, he's a two sport player, right? He is a baseball player. So he has that athleticism, described as a smart player, described as a high IQ player, more likely to be special teams, more likely to be third string linebacker, but he does have upside to potentially win the number two spot behind Quay Walker. Bryce Botcher, seventh round. That's gonna do it for this video, man. Wanted to get this out there. Talk about these free agents, man. Talk about this upcoming draft. Um, I appreciate all the new subscribers. All 17 of y'all, man. Y'all the truth. Everybody that's been commenting, liking, whether you're uplifting or whether you're talking shit, it really don't matter to me, man. I appreciate y'all. If you love football like I love football, this channel is for you. If you are not yet subscribed, then go ahead and subscribe. If you like the content, then like the content. And if you got something that you want to get off your chest, then go ahead and drop a comment, man. It's the Antisocial Writer, and we all we doing is talking football.